We've got an update on Cash Wheeler's arrest, the latest on AEW All In ticket sales, and WWE is planning to split up a popular group. Stay tuned for all the deets. So the wrestling world has been sort of turned upside down, inside out, round and round we go for the last week or so. But I mean, things reached a bit of a fever pitch yesterday when it was revealed that Cash Wheeler had been arrested and was appearing in circuit court. Following his arrest, there was a lot of speculation this would mean that he would of course miss AEW All In next weekend at Wembley in front of all of those many tens of thousands of fans. But according to Mike Johnson of PW Insider, Wheeler was not asked to surrender his passport by the Circuit Court of Orange County, Florida, and there are no restrictions on Wheeler traveling internationally, meaning he shouldn't have an issue in entering England for AEW All In. This means it will be down to management to decide if he'll appear on the show or not. And then it was revealed on last night's AEW Rampage that Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood would address their match with the Young Bucks on tonight's AEW Collision. Not only that, but a face-to-face interview between the two teams will air on next week's episode of AEW Dynamite. So as of right now, AEW intends to continue with the match as planned, despite the arrest.
Despite it, yeah. It's they've not said if it's going to be a pre-taped face-to-face interview.
Yeah.
Of course, it's very likely that it will be. But it's interesting that obviously off the back of this news, they will address on Collision tomorrow night.
Yeah, there was a lot of conversation about, because apparently the warrant stemmed back to late July, so there was a lot of conversation about, did Tony know? Like, who knew, who didn't? Was this sort of factored into things? Did they think there'd be a chance of it not being able to happen? But according to Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling, he was unable to find anyone in AEW that knew of Wheeler's legal issues prior to the news breaking this week. Hausman reported that notable members of the roster and those in management were not aware of the situation and only learned of the news when it was broken online. He was unable to confirm if Tony Khan, Dax Harwood, or CM Punk were informed prior, but he said he was given the impression by someone close to the situation that Khan didn't know.
Which is kind of shocking.
It is, but at the same time, I think it was an argument I saw a lot of people saying, like, how could Tony Khan possibly not know? But then when you think back to the Enzo Amore situation, the WWE, who probably, I'm just going out and guessing here, I don't know what the size of each company's legal team is, but we know WWE has a pretty sizable legal division. You'd think they'd maybe know about that ahead of time, but they didn't with Enzo. Police just turned up, took him away.
It's interesting to see that Tony Khan, Dax Harwood maybe didn't know, CM Punk didn't know. Of course, Nick Hausman's report there says he wasn't sure if they were informed or not, but it does kind of put a lot of things in question. Obviously, AEW is carrying on with promoting the match. But in case, I don't want to compare it to Jeff Hardy's situation, but Jeff Hardy was arrested and then was suspended from the company. I wonder if that's had any influence on the decisions here, if it's been a case of he's pled not guilty. We're going to carry on with what we've got going on just now until there's a solid conviction or charge.
That's it, right? So I think that might be what we see, is that they're going to wait for legal proceedings to reach their natural end point, and then from whatever happens there, that's when we may see some sort of movement on the company's behalf, or non-movement if it's sort of resolved. So.
Yeah, it's just a real unfortunate story though. We saw video of the court footage that was going around yesterday. It was a road rage incident, according to Cash himself, and it was not involving someone he knows. So it's quite a serious incident, and hopefully it gets cleared up soon, and hopefully that we can move past it, and AEW as a company can come to a decision.
Well, on the point of AEW, we've got an update on a bit of an injured star, don't we?
We do indeed. Fightful Select has given an update on Mark Quinn, who's been out of action for the past few months with an injury. The report notes that he's still not cleared and is still suffering from the injury, with no time frame of a return to TV, which is kind of a big shock. He's been out of action since December last year. I believe his last match was a tag team match against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. It was a long time ago. The report notes that he is still in a sling. He's still in a brace, trying to recover from an injured shoulder. He was one of the more, he's a really entertaining style in the ring. Private Party is great, and it's great to see that they've been able to adapt to that without him on screen. But it is a big loss for them in the division.
Yeah, it's just there's just a big hole in the middle of it that needs to be filled. And, you know, Mark Quinn, it's just so unfortunate. And it's one of those things where I don't think anybody would have guessed that the injury might be this severe, and it might have taken this long. And especially now there's no time frame, it's quite worrying. But at the same time, all we can do is, you know, send our best wishes Mark Quinn's way, and fingers crossed he's able to get back into the ring safely and back to full speed, you know.
Back into storylines, Private Party seemed to be getting built up last year again, sort of after a period of not really doing much apart from being with the Hardys.
That was it. It just got pulled away, and it feels like we were just starting to get running.
Just started to get running, involved in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match, which wasn't that good with Leatherface. Which
is it canon if Mark Quinn's not there?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
Fine.
So there you go.
Well, moving over to the other side of the fence now, or kind of just out of the fence entirely, just in the middle of the garden somewhere. The Wrestling Observer has reported that Lacey Evans' contract expired with WWE, and she's no longer with the company. But right now, she's focused on opening up a new cafe in Beaufort called Sunny Summers Cafe. So get yourselves down there, get dressed up as Sergeant Slaughter, get in there.
Yeah, go dress the Sergeant, and you can take a selfie. She's got selfie booths in the cafe.
Can we just talk about how... I get that, you know, it was a Sergeant Slaughter-esque gimmick. Lacey's top end of the military.
She's actually
like a US Marine.
Yep.
Like, what?
Sergeant Slaughter is... Of course, I
know that you know that people have a lot of opinions about Lacey, and if you just take all of the personal stuff out of it and you just look at it from a pure presentation standpoint with her background, what?
It's a bit of a strange one. She seems like someone that had a gimmick and a character that could really, really work, but it never quite connected with WWE, the WWE audience, which I guess she was being presented as a heel at some points, but it wasn't the character that was maybe true to her. Yeah. And then she was presented as a face, but people were like, we don't really buy this. But it is kind of crazy that Sergeant Slaughter did come out and go, that's ridiculous. She's still a gimmick when she's an actual Marine.
But that's the thing. All we can hope is that she has success in her cafe. Maybe it gives her the time off she needs to kind of think about wrestling, and maybe if she wants to continue in the wrestling sphere, then we'll see something new out of her.
She was saying, it gives her time to focus on the community. She's been on the road quite a bit. She's been with the company 7 years. Now it came out earlier in the week that she'd left the company with a confirmation now that it was to set up a cafe so that she could hang out with her family a bit more, which is lovely. Yeah. It's a really nice reason
to leave. To be able to set up a cafe. Be great. Right, moving back over to AEW and looking ahead to this coming weekend. Oh my God, I'm going to Wembley, Fraser.
You're going to Wembley. I'm very jealous. I'm going to be here, but I'm going to be doing live reactions with Tom.
WrestleTix have revealed that AEW All In has now passed 80,846 tickets sold as of August 18th, which breaks the record for a paid ticketed event in pro wrestling. The record was previously held by WrestleMania 32 with 80,709 tickets sold.
101,000. You were there for that one, right? You were there for terrifying. The 101,000.
It was literally, it felt like you were in it was like a city of people just there.
It was massive. And of course, that figure, the 101,000, isn't the official attendance. Vince McMahon has confirmed that includes everyone that was selling tickets, everyone that was selling hot dogs.
But this is in terms of paid tickets. So these are tickets that have been sold and bought. I'm assuming it doesn't include papered tickets. Nope. So, there may be more there through giveaways, through, all sorts of associated tie-ins, people getting free tickets for stuff. But I think that's amazing. I think it's absolutely wild.
You'll have walk-ups as well, I imagine.
For a card that wasn't even announced, and a card that I'm shaking my fist at. It should be called tag-in at this point. But, next time, Tony... More singles.
It's an incredible achievement. It is the biggest, as it said there, the highest, breaks the record for the paid ticket event in pro wrestling. The only shows bigger were the ones in North Korea, which was government mandated.
Yeah, but they wanted to be there.
They wanted to be there. They loved the show. They
loved it. Wrestling is a perfect representation of the Juche ideology.
And we're all going to love All In next week.
Well, moving over to WWE now to close this one out. According to the Wrestling Observer, the long-term plan for Damian Priest to leave for Damian Priest to leave the Judgment Day. The report notes that plans could change, but that is apparently the eventual outcome that they want, and that it's probable. God damn, what's wrong with me this morning? It's probable that JD McDonough will be joining the group. So we may see Judgment Day fracture a little bit, and we may see Judgment Day become something else entirely. Part of me wants to get Rhea and Dom away from it.
Away from it. Okay,
and I think that having Priest leave and then having Balor build a whole new group I think could be quite interesting, but at the same time, I understand you need to keep Rhea and Dom there for now. Priest makes the most sense as the breakout star. He's got, everything's kind of pointing toward Priest right now.
Everything's coming up Priest.
Everything's coming up Priest. I mean, look at the guy. He is a pro wrestler. You look at it. There's nothing else that guy could be doing. He's either a mega actor or a pro wrestler, and eventually one day he's probably going to be the mega actor as well as the pro wrestler.
He's just really cool, and it's unfortunate, that they're already thinking about breaking up the Judgment Day because they are one of the hottest acts on TV, and we know that WWE saw them as the successor of the Bloodline,
especially after such a rocky start with Edge and then Edge going, and then it's sort of. I think that they've really done well here to polish it up and make it look as great as they can and actually turn it into a viable team that people really want to get behind.
I think they maybe see that Damian Priest has got a lot of potential as a face and can lead as the star of the company. And if they want to go to Puerto Rico again in the markets, it would be great to go back with him as world champ, as the top guy. Yeah. JD McDonough in Judgment Day, I don't feel he's got as big a presence as Damian Priest, and I don't think that's a controversial opinion. It's
a very, very, very big pair of shoes to fill, isn't it?
But it will certainly make Judgment Day unique and maybe have that feeling where you were mentioning maybe Balor brings up a new group. I think just even JD in the mix would feel like a completely different dynamic.
Yeah, that's the thing. So there's many different ways this can go, and I think that they're not going to be making these choices without at least some planning factored into it. So you've got to think that there's a direction they are heading in terms of Judgment Day potentially fracturing. But at the same time, when I look at it, I'm looking at Balor and I'm going, hey, the guy's got experience of leading clubs, and those clubs tended to have very revolvy sets of people in them over time. Obviously not while he was there, but over time it started to kind of revolve. So if he wanted to be a central figurehead, I think you could also make that work, and you could bring in a whole new batch of stars to then get over as hell, and then out there you go.
And then they're made men like Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah. All grand. All absolutely grand. Well, that is it for your second dose of lovely bumper weekend wrestling news. We may be back later if there's anything more that breaks, but in the meantime, check out the podcast, check out the channel this weekend. We got everything going out in the world all at once, but not all at once. It's going out though, so just
going all in.
It's going all in.
It's going all in.